So, Marty, you recently were just a part of AEW Dynamite when they were in Nashville. You had a moment with Britt Baker, and we'll get into that in just a second. But you've talked about your love of the theater and, obviously your love of acting. What was your perception of professional wrestling when you got to be backstage and see the way that those shows come together and the way that it is that element of theater and acting and then the athletic side of things?
Well, the first thing that comes to me is the devotion that these people have. I mean, they hit that mat, and that mat is not padded. That mat is plywood. And it makes that loud sound because plywood's hitting plywood. And it's amazing. It's just incredible. That said, then you go to the athleticism part of maintaining your muscles in your shoulders and your back can maintain those hits. To really, you have to have the armor. You have to have the armor, which is why so many boxers and fighters and wrestlers, they need the armor. They all look good, but they need the armor to protect themselves. And I remember that's why Arnold used to have all that armor when he did Conan. Mm-hmm. He wasn't necessarily looking any better, but he really needed it for the character. He needed it for the fight scenes. He needed it for all of that. And I find that's what the wrestlers, I have a great deal of respect because they work out a lot.
Yeah.
I did, I did 2 movies of the week with Hulk Hogan.
Oh my gosh. How was that?
It was wild. And, we were Navy SEALs. And so I'd never really seen him. It was 1998. And he said, Marty, I'm going to take you to see this. And so we went, where were we? We went to see, I think it was LA, strangely enough. And it was screaming. I was sitting up in the bleachers, and there was screaming 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds screaming, kill him, get him in a body bag, screaming like violent. And I said, oh my God, where are these kids from? What's happening? And then I moved down to the closer area where I can see better. And it was easier. There weren't that kind of violence. But it's truly, look, what The Rock has done. He's made a good career out of himself and for himself. And those movies are charming films, I look back, I got an 85-inch Sony in the new place here. So the first movie I looked at was The Mummy Returns.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I think it's his first picture, and where he's a protagonist. And he wasn't good. But the bottom line was the movie. And he tried. And what he did physically and the moving and the athleticism was good. Mm-hmm. But it was the cat's first time really doing an acting job.
Yeah.
And he's really improved vastly over all the way to Jumanji and these other movies with Jason Statham. So to me, I think it's a massive education of what I originally thought back to when I was a kid and could watch wrestling with Haystacks Calhoun and these, it was on Channel 11 and Channel 5 in Brooklyn. And I would watch these, it was Man Mountain Dean. And there was a couple of these characters that were crazy that I remember being in King Kong, Almighty Joe Young. Uh-huh. And they have these fighters come on before, the monster would come on and he was tied up. And to me, I learned a lot about the wrestlers and it was a different world. But now these characters, they're almost like baseball players. They really take care of their bodies and they're concerned about going up the ladder rather than just staying on the ladder.
For sure. Yeah. It's all about that maintenance, no doubt.
Yeah.
Britt Baker. Dr. Britt Baker, how was your experience working with her? How did you guys become friends? What's the relationship there?
We did an autograph show months ago, and my convention agent introduced us, and she was a great chick. She just latched on big Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And so she knew all the episodes and everything. And I was very much in her corner. And she said to me, will you do this little promo for me? And then I said, well, what is your background? And she says, I'm a dentist, and just all this, things you would not think of a wrestler.
I know.
It's like thinking of you as a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, oh, sure. And she said, well, you do this promo for me, but it would be great. Juxtapose our positions are juxtaposed in life, and just come in and say something that's very, very endearing to me as the character John Kreese. And I said, oh, okay. It's very endearing, and and it was soft-spoken and loving. And she got a great, enormous amount of social media on it. Huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she called me a couple of times to do another one, and I couldn't. And then this time we were we were in Nashville, and the convention agent said, come, she's there.
Is this
And
Gilbert? Was it Gilbert that did all this?
No, it wasn't Gilbert. It was Rick Hendricks was his name.
Okay.
He's a friend of Gilbert's, and Gilbert's a friend of Bree.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So she wasn't wrestling, but she was buying into a wrestler that was supposed to win and didn't. And then I come in and I give her some advice. You go in there and you finish it yourself. No mercy. If it happens to be that you have to do that, and the person you're sponsoring is not doing well, and the person she was sponsoring lost, so she had to go into the ring and do all this. So in the middle of the whole thing, she comes up to me. I'm right at the first row, and they've all finished screaming, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. They've let that happen already. And she walked up to me and we played it out. And she said, what should I do? And I said, what I told you to do. You go in there and finish it.
I love it.
So she goes in there and kicks the girl's ass,
So great.